Everybody's been asking me for the last 48 hours about the National Association of Realtors settlement, how it's going to affect our market, and what do I think of it? What do I think of it? It's about damn time. I am fully in favor of what's going on here, and I'm going to tell you why. The two big things that we see out there right now from the settlement have to do with commissions and how they're advertised, and have to do with buyer representation. What the NAR settlement is saying about commissions is this: we will no longer, starting in July, be able to advertise commissions on the multiple listing service paid out to the company representing the buyer. And to understand that, I want to give you a little bit of a contextual background. For all eternity, there's been sharing with commissions between the listing side and the buy side. In fact, many people don't know this. It wasn't until the 1990s that buyer representation actually came to fruition. In fact, prior to that, nobody represented the buyer. Everybody by default represented the seller. And if a seller listed their property on the market, the agency that was listing that property could be listing it for any number, but guess what? That number was often higher than what today's numbers are. They would share just virtually half of that commission with the company that brought the buyer, but both realtors represented the seller. In the 1990s, they changed that and brought agency to the situation. This was great. Buyers could now have their own representation. It wasn't complete caveat emptor. It wasn't complete buyer beware. They had representation. What everybody's saying now is this way of doing business isn't allowing for competition. It's not allowing for competitive models to come to the market, and some folks are saying that sellers shouldn't feel obligated to pay a buyer's commission. And they're right, they shouldn't feel obligated to do so. On our team, we've often, if not always, encouraged the seller to offer some sort of a commission structure to the company representing the buy side. What we find is over time, that will bring more offers, higher offers, and put more money into our seller's pocket than not doing so. We're going to navigate the new rules on this. We're going to offer different structures like we always have. It's always been negotiable. We're going to continue to do that for all of our clients, and I'll be happy to share the specifics with you. But that's the gist of it. At no point have they said no 6%, no 7%, no whatever percent. Nothing says that. Everything will still be negotiable. Now, as a buyer, you may find there may be some listings out there moving forward that have no buyer compensation, and you would have to pay your agent. But guess what? That's what we've been doing the whole time. Every time we represent a buyer, we have a fee we charge. If we're able to get that fee paid for through negotiation with the seller, it offsets our buyer's obligation to pay it. This is how it's always been. It's how it still will be. That's what they're allowing. They're just saying they want to make it more transparent. And here's the gist of it. Bring it down. Let's nail down and drill down on this. Why is this even an issue? I'll tell you why it's an issue. Because there's a lot of lazy agents out there, that's why. There's a lot of agents out there that have been telling their buyers it's free to represent them. Really? Do you work for free? I don't work for free. Nobody works for free. That's not truthful. There's been agents out there that haven't been signing buyer representation with their buyers. Who represents the buyer? It's unclear. This is going to stop because of this new rule. This is what's going to make the industry better and the experience for customers better, which leads right in to the second part of that settlement, is buyer representation. Moving forward, NAR states any home listed on the multiple listing service, if you want to see that home with an agent, that agent needs to have a representation agreement with you. Simple, right? It's clear. Who represents the buyer? Who represents the seller? How is this all going to work? This is great. Everybody's worried about this. There's nothing to be worried about on this. You should be representing your buyers. I saw a stat recently. 80% of real estate agents across the United States sign a buyer representation agreement with their client on the day they write a purchase agreement. How irresponsible is that? I want to let you in on a little secret. This is something that I learned on day one of my career 2 decades ago and been practicing it ever since. If I go into a home listed from my brokerage with a buyer, and that buyer does not have an agreement signed by me, with me as their representation, guess who I represent? By default, I represent the seller. Do buyers know this? No, that's why NAR is telling everybody this is going to be the new way of things. It's long past due. I'm happy for it. I'm looking forward to it. And that is basically the entire gist of what's going on in this NAR lawsuit, this NAR settlement. And it's exactly what we're going to be doing as realtors as we navigate this new landscape.